guess starting off big picture, just this class in general, 17 players. What stands out to you most with what you guys did here?
What stands out? Again, very excited about this class. Really appreciate the efforts of everyone associated in the recruiting process for us. Our recruiting department, headed up by Rob Einello, General Manager Grant Murray, and the rest there. Our staff on the road, people that make the visits there. I think what we hit our needs, of course, like everyone always talks about, but I think this is a special class in a lot of ways. Obviously, we think it's extremely talented. I think this group has gotten close already. We'll have more mid-year enrollees than we ever have had in our time. And really from all but 2 committed, I think, before the 4th of July, and they all stay committed. And again, I think that speaks about them and their word and their process. The job our assistant coaches have done in building those relationships, and then equally the trajectory of this program and the things that are happening have made these guys, while a lot of people still try to recruit them. And you could see them. The other thing, I think, Michael, is, probably as good as any class that I've been a part of as a head coach about guys playing on some very, very successful teams in their own states. And that's exciting when we have those type of competitors and guys that have been in those winning cultures coming to our program.
I want to ask about Isaiah Marshall. I think you go back to August of 2021 when you guys offered him. Like, what was about him that caught your attention? Like, what stands out about him to you guys as a staff?
Well, he has a lot of similarities. I think I think he plays a little bit like Jalen. I think people can see that if they watch some of his highlights and things. But it's funny because I was there about 10 days ago or whatever it was. I was there. Maybe it was just a week ago, I guess. Spending time and talking with his uncles, his head coach, his dad, but even the other coaches that are there, they talk about his demeanor, his composure. And even as we're talking, everybody's patting him on the back about everything he's done, and he just stays so consistent. And it's really neat, He's not in some of the extra stuff and all the stuff people, and he's humble, but he's highly competitive and all those things. And then it was interesting for when he came here the first time, he talked about how much he liked it and his family. Then somebody else from his family came the next time, and he was starting to feel, and he has stayed true to that, and he's found a place that was a great fit for him. Not just on the field offense and schematically, but in every way, shape, and form. And he's got a great family and support system. Chris Simpson's done an outstanding job for us in Michigan, and does a great job right there. And it's great because even one of their assistant coaches, and of course then Jalen Todd jumps in as well. Charles Harris played for us at Buffalo, and he's working there. Then he went back and helped him, and Chuck's story of development at Buffalo is one of my favorite, about a young man who came in quiet and grew on and off the field, and had a couple stints with some teams in the NFL, and I think when they see that type of experience with a group of people, that trust has really been there, and through everything else that's happening now in college football, it's great to see when families see that connection and what it can do and what it can happen for their son.
You mentioned Coach Simpson in Michigan, but Coach Peterson in Arizona, we asked you about him. Those 3 guys from same high school all signed. How excited are you that trio stuck together?
I mean, again, all 4 guys from, because Carter was lineman of the year, and he's going to be a fine addition. But to get 3 from a high school, the guys as many schools that continued to pursue the guys there having a chance, in the open week, I had a chance to see those guys play. All that's a great job by Jordan, and then the rest of the staff once those guys came here. That's those are three fine young men from one high school, not just players, but as you get to know, and they all have different personalities in their own right, of course, but then they're going to all bring something different to the table, and it's interesting that they'll be at all three levels of the defense.
And then Warner's one of those three. Obviously, him and Brinkley are two pretty highly touted defensive linemen. How excited were you to bring both of them into the fold?
Extremely. It was kind of hard, and it was great as they both, again, sometimes people, and I look at different things in this class where sometimes you take more than one, whether or not there's more than one at that position on the field at one time. They look at, both coming in, excuse me, they can complement one another and do some neat things. Dak is going to enroll early, and he didn't get a chance to finish his season, so continuing his rehab and doing those things and learning as we go is really exciting, because those are the body types and length and speed and athleticism that we want to continue to recruit. So that's exciting.
Hey, Lance, you said something about the guys all committed and they stayed committed in this day and age. That's so hard to do. How'd you guys do that?
I know how we didn't do it. I think what I did was just, again, the relationship from the time it went, to continue conversations, the understanding, the transparency, the genuineness, all the things we've talked about that we've been about. There wasn't something different, even though the game's changed. That is done with guys. So again, I think we've mentioned some of these guys, but all our guys in different areas that have worked hard, within our evaluation times to get out and see guys when it was the right time, our constant communication. I don't want to say weekly because it can be daily at times, all those little things. But again, I think through even last spring, the evaluation part of fit for us, not just ability. And sometimes you kind of get a sense of that as well. I don't think we did that as well the year before, and some things happened down the stretch that I had a feeling on, and it played out a certain way, and it played out for the better. But I think we did a better job this time of not just taking the ability, but taking the fit as well.
And 4 offensive linemen, what do you see from the group?
Well, again, that was an area, and you're looking in college football, especially in the transfer market, it's everyone's always looking for linemen. And for us to get length, we had to continue to do that. Our numbers were a little short there, and again, each one's going to bring a little something different. I think, you end up with probably 2 guys that could play tackle. I think Harrison will be a guy that will play inside, could play center, and as we continue to develop centers. And Kenny is going to be one that, by far has his best football ahead of him. And I think and he's going to benefit from college development. So he could be, he could be an inside or outside guy. So I think all of that is going to help us, not just as we go into camp next year, but as we move forward down the road here. Because, we're going to be an older football team next year. And so where that comes with any of these guys, and, if they're good enough to help us, they'll play, of course, but it's going to be, as we move forward, this will quickly become a nucleus of this team.
Lance, beyond the obvious of current players hosting guys on their visits and that kind of thing. Do you do much with your current roster in terms of maybe talking to them about fit or?
No, we get feedback after they get time alone and those things. Obviously, you try to get them around positionally, and everybody tries to get personalities that fit for all of those, but part of it also is before they even get to coming to campus, you hope that the coach has got enough uncovered that we have a good idea. And then you try to get the information back when they're around. And again, in the summertime, one night's a regular dinner, then we try to have everyone out to our house for a very casual afternoon of interaction, swimming, whatever, and you kind of see guys' personalities come out as well, and the interactions, but and it's not just with the hosts. Then it's like all of you, hey, where's this guy? Is there anything that doesn't fit?
Yeah. And you mentioned the I guess chemistry or camaraderie or whatever that is. Why do you think that's developed so quickly with these guys already?
I don't know. I obviously, I think when it comes to that end and technology and maturity and interaction, they're a lot further ahead than you and I were, right? So I think quiet confidence or confidence overall, I think you'll have definitely different personalities, which you want. But I don't think, I don't sense, hey, you're signing one at this position, that there was concern of competing and all the things that we talk about. And I do think they see it as a sense of, this is part of the future. We are going to be part of something that can be very special, and this is going to be our class. So and they started to bond that direction, So.
Yeah. Thanks.
You mentioned the evaluation piece. For you guys as like a staff, how has that evolved over kind of the first 3 full cycles you guys have had?
Evolve? You mean in process or how we're doing? I mean, I guess internally, again, we get a lot of eyes on things before we fully approve. There's position coaches, again, of course, the recruiting, the personnel department's looking at it, and then, in the downtimes, or I say downtimes, even Thursday afternoons during the season, offense and defense spend a lot of time watching film of recruits and moving ahead that way. There's different levels before it gets to me for final approval. Some are depending on where the person is grade wise, how fast it moves or how slow it moves, but there's that process. But I think what's also happened is we've been able now as a staff, and maybe that's what you're asking, is we see more on a weekly basis what it's going to take. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot about this conference that other than some of the guys that were here that first year, we went into this thing pretty blind, okay? We can say it now. Okay, I mean, you got an idea, but you don't have the full idea week in and week out till you start playing everybody. Just like we had no idea what our facility deficit was until we pulled up to Iowa State, okay? You think but you don't know. And same thing goes with our personnel. And I think there are some things that have been modified in what we want to look at and take, I think, is the other part you may be alluding to that has evolved. And I think part of it is now, with a little bit of success, it allows us to get in some conversations on guys that we never would have been able to with another 2-10 season.
I'm curious, the 3 cornerbacks signed, you add that in with Jamil and Jacoby.
Yeah.
What do you like about just the revamping that's going on there?
Well, just on that, Jacoby was going to get gray shirted. We were going to bring him in January. Scholarship opened. We looked at things. There was nothing portal-wise at any position that matriculated into anything. So we brought him in, which kind of gave us this opportunity to look at a really third one. At one time, we were considering two. Dre was in the mix. Then I got to remember which one between Austin and JT that kind of jumped in. And all of a sudden, it was like, we'll never be out of the business of passing up really good football players. And then schematically, when you see what we're doing now with extra corners on the field, what we're doing, Austin played a lot of safety this year for his team. There's, Dre's a pretty thick corner. He's going to be a guy that I think can be dual trained if you need to. Very smart football player. I think they all are. So who knows? And again, the more versatility of guys with athleticism, I think was something that made us go one more.
Graydon's one of the newer ones. How did that process play out for you all? Well,
we had to end with his father, and and he had to end with the mother, and we kind of took advantage of that. Graydon was, and I didn't, Jeff did not push that whatsoever, and he brought it. But again, through the dynamics of Jeff's situation, of course, that causes somebody to pause and reevaluate where they're at. We evaluated the film, and as we told Graydon, the connection was brought to us this reason. But when you do this and when you're here, it's based on what you do. Okay, especially that's on the other side of the ball and that. But all of a sudden you look at a couple pictures, you look at the film, and again, we don't have enough of that length yet in this program. That doesn't guarantee you're going to be a good player for guys that are, and we have guys that play well that aren't as tall. But when we saw that and his size and the capability to put on more weight and maybe where he could play or how big he'll be, he's played a lot of spots. And again, for that to happen, when a scholarship opened, we decided to pursue it. He came up this last weekend. A lot of thought process for that whole family, especially him. But I think as the family relocates, I think some of those things, and this was a lot different, like it is for a lot of our recruits, than what they imagine. What the campus is like, really what's happening facility-wise, but most importantly, really, they are very surprised, as we all know, what Lawrence, Kansas is all about. And once they take that all in, just like the rest of the guys, we got a decent shot at them.
Just looking at some of the transfer commitments, was there kind of a thought process between, like, position-wise, you wanted to fill that in with high school versus transfer?
Yeah, I can only talk about one right now, so, I really don't want to go any further than that, I guess, okay, because by rule, okay, and the last thing any of us want is compliance with the NCAA, and right? But Deshaun is, we had somebody leave the program, and we were going to look to fill that, and to have somebody that is, right down the road from Topeka, looking for a chance to kind of end his career. And again, meeting him, and when he came on campus, very mature, handled his whole situation very maturely, no excuses, did a lot of background, everything on the situation, and really excited. It was amazing how many different people we talked to about him, about his on and off the field as a person, his work ethic, his production, his potential. Really excited about getting him here next month. I don't know if I answered anything else about, I guess everything else is still looking at ways to improve. That's the way it'll always be, is just generally speaking, again, is most seniors is going, unless there's a big gap for some other reason, we're always going to look high school, okay? I'm still not ready to fully give up on the fact that you cannot, somebody told me, a wise man who has access to information, said there's over 5,000 college football players of all levels in the portal, okay, which is mind-blowing, okay? But I still think that at the University of Kansas, we can recruit, develop, and retain good football players to win games. And I hope I finish my career with that still being the belief. And so we want to do that. And, you know, I think back to Michael's questions, I think hopefully now after, you know, a couple full springs and seeing things, we got our feet on the ground, we've got some things going, and this is just the beginning of what hopefully we can do in recruiting. But yes, it'll still be, it'll also be part of what we're going to be about.
You may mention it there too, like I think 31 players will be in their first or second year in the program next year. You mentioned being a veteran team next year, but how do you think that helps having a good crop of young guys while also having a little bit older guys on the team for them to learn from?
Well, I guess the experience of games, of course, is going to be one thing of going about, but I think you're probably alluding to more of the adjustment to college, the routine, and the way we do it, and the expectations that we hold our guys to, and that is part of culture, is the actions of those things can be passed along from one to another.
With Harry and Red as a running back tandem, just what do you like about what those two guys will bring to that room?
Well, again, you know, Harry's a bigger back, you know, broad, wide shoulders. I think he's going to give us another physical runner. I'm not saying, I don't want to say he can't run outside the tackles, but I think he's going to give us some physicality. You know, Red's one that's, you know, a little shorter in stature and size, but with quickness and acceleration and things like that. I think, again, that'll add to that room.
And then looking ahead, you mentioned it, that a lot of these guys committed in July. Mm-hmm. How much does that help you guys looking ahead to future classes that you had a lot of this wrapped up?
It has. I think we continue to move faster than we ever have with the 25 class and what we're doing and communications and things like that, as the rules are changing here and have again as will for the first of the year. So I think we're on a good beat on that as well. You know, and I think Kansas has been one of those programs. I know we were the first couple of years. Is you're one that's always trying to catch up on something, and something's happened, and holding on to these commits did allow us to have, between the official visits already being spent on them, and they were solid, that we weren't spending, you know, game day visits trying to bring in, again, transfer junior college players and doing a lot of those things. And I think even we're at Buffalo, that, you know, in the MAC, you end up doing that sometimes because you're waiting for the trickle down or something that may break. And at least at Buffalo, we were maybe a little more on locality, that because you're just not able to get to everywhere that you want to as quick, and you're not always someone's top three. So I do think that has helped us as far as our 25s have gone, and you know, but that'll remain to be seen as we move forward.
Coach, I think we've seen long linemen, offensive side before, 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". The biggest difference seems to be weight. These guys coming in 275, 285, 290. Calvin Clements was also big coming out of high school, but how does that change the developmental timeline when Sleeve gets a hold of him, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about them gaining 30 pounds? He can work on some other things. They're almost there physically, size-wise.
I think young men today are coming so much more developed. I don't know if it's sports specialization, size of human beings, all these different things. If you notice, I haven't said anything about playing time for any of these guys. I don't think it's fair. I think they know they have to come in and earn it, but I don't also want to put any unnecessary expectations on somebody that when they are. But there's going to be some guys that may need more of this. Sometimes you weigh this, but we got to reshape the body in some different ways and strength and doing some things. But once you have guys with this type of size and you just keep seeing it in high school football is, they're closer to being ready-made than ever before.
Anything else, Coach?
All right, guys, thank you.